Hey, thanks so much for joining us here on 90s Plus. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, joined by my fellow meteorologist Cory Reppenhagen. And Cory, we're going to take a look back here on what was an exceptionally hot July, what's been a very hot start to the summer. Another 90-degree day today here in the Denver area. First things first, I want to look back on July, second hottest July on record, second hottest month on record in Denver. Any takeaways, any initial thoughts about that?
Yeah, you know, there's a few things that kind of stick out to me. One is the 12-day 90-degree streak that we had in the middle of the month. Now, those 90-degree days were not cheap. You know what I mean? It's not like we spiked up and hit 90 for a few minutes like maybe today we will end up doing. We got up into the upper middle 90s quickly and stayed in the middle to upper 90s for a good bit of time in this 12-day span. So I think that had a huge influence on it. And then the second takeaway, I think, from the month is we broke 5 heat records. 3 of them were lows. So we had some warm mornings this July. And so when you start the day out at 70 degrees, 71 degrees, you know that heat is going to be coming, and you're going to get that high temperature up there before the afternoon storms arrive. So that morning heat, I think, was a significant contributor, because when you look at hottest month ever, we had an average of 78 degrees. It's only the second time ever we've had a month where the average temperature was 78 degrees or more. And so all you do is take the low temperature of the day and the high temperature of the day, add them up, average them out. And so you can possibly get a situation where, so this is what happened to me. I posted the other day on social media saying that this was the second hottest month ever recorded in the city of Denver. And everyone was, I'm surprised how many people said, oh, it didn't feel that hot, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't think it felt as hot as that either. And the reason for that is that we really did get quite a few afternoon thunderstorms because of that active monsoon. So that high temperature would buzz right up there quickly. So between 9 a.m. and about 1:30, 2 o'clock, it was hot. But then those clouds came in, everything kind of shot down the temperatures. So it's not like last year or the year before, even 2020, where I felt like it was sunny all the way until the sun went down. The heat just felt like it was 95 all the way until 7 o'clock. This year, it's a little different because we did get a little bit of cooling in the afternoons. But what we do is we look at the high and the low. It doesn't matter if the low or the high occurs at noon or 1. That tells you how hot the day is. It doesn't matter what happens after that high temperature is reached. So it's a little different this year than last, but the data is the data. So it was a hot month.
It was, and by the way, maybe another reason behind that is it was a bit of a DIA outlier in terms of just how hot it was. The Central Park Station, I believe, had its 7th hottest July on record. Downtown, 7th hottest July on record. DIA was 2nd. So hopefully it adds at least a little bit of context as to why specifically it may have felt just a tad warmer than what it actually was. But I think what you're talking about there, Cory, was the main thing. And by the way, speaking of the monsoon, we haven't really felt it here along the Front Range yet. We didn't feel a whole lot of the active monsoon until we got a pretty good amount of storms the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Of course, I was on vacation for it. But last 2 weeks, we finally started to see some of that moisture reach its way into the Front Range.
Yeah, and the monsoon is funny for us over here because you get a lot of southwest flow and west flow. And no matter how moist the air is, when it comes over the mountains and sinks, we get drying, and that's kind of what happens to our monsoon out here. And so it really did take a couple of little upslope surges to kind of stabilize that air to keep it from falling, and it even rose up a couple of times. So We did have a couple of systems that came very close to us that kind of influenced us. A little bit better than the one that came through last night across the northern part of the state, and we could have another one coming up this weekend. It's very similar, so we may not get too many opportunities to see rain, but we may come close to average. We just have to, I mean, DIA got missed. Really the whole northeast part of the Denver metro got really missed by those, but everyone else did really, really well. The Bureau out there in North Arvada got quite a bit of rain.
Yes.
Yep, that's the unofficial 9 News backyard. So, we could have a situation like that again where quite a bit of the metro gets hit, and you just kind of have to get lucky with these thunderstorms, and the northeast part of the metro did not get lucky. Maybe this weekend they will.
And by the way, it's worth noting for those of you that might not be weather weenies like Cory and I, this time of year we're known for getting these hit or miss storms. So sometimes you will get them, those big synoptic scale, or what I mean by that, big low pressure systems that produce a lot of rainfall for most of the area. Those are more in the shoulder seasons. That'd be more May, more April, more October. It used to rain in September. It used to snow in September. That doesn't happen anymore. So October, November.
Thanks for hexing us. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Maybe it's by admitting it now it'll happen this September. But
that does work.
No, we've seen. I think a warming climate has affected September more than any other month here. We'll get into that more. But Cory, the good news is that the monsoon has been active, and in the mountains and here along the Front Range, we're starting to see some real meaningful beneficial moisture out of it.
We are, and the forecast from the Climate Prediction Center for August looks like that they expect that monsoon to continue for the entire month of August, which is a huge. It may even keep the temperatures down in parts of the mountains and maybe part of the southeast or southwest part of the state. The same situation, though, with the monsoon on the eastern half of the state, because we still need a little bit of air coming back towards the mountains to keep those thunderstorms up. So we won't get as many opportunities as the mountains, but it's great to see the monsoon. And it just, with La Niñas, the monsoon is typically active. Didn't work out in 2020, but last year and this year it has, when there's 3 La Niñas back to back to back. But going forward, the monsoon, the things that make the monsoon work are heat, and heat in the south and the southwest, and that seems to be, if you look at all the climate modeling, it's where the heat is. So maybe one good takeaway going into the future is that we can be a little bit more hopeful for those monsoons.
Well, that's perhaps one good takeaway from everything. Any final thoughts about the recent kind of summer pattern? It is, by the way, in Denver, tied for 3rd hottest summer. So that's all of June, all of July, part of August, of course, now. To date on record. Any other final thoughts from this recent pattern?
No, I mean the pattern, the one thing about this pattern I would say is that there hasn't been a lot of instability with it, especially on the eastern plains. When we look, we see our dew points in the Denver area and the eastern plains hit the 50s, upper 50s and 60s. We're usually thinking, whoa, here we go. We're going to get some big hailers. It's like a situation back when we had the biggest hailstone ever found in the state of Colorado. We get the heat and the dew points, but the difference is the heat has been distributed all the way up through the atmosphere. And so we've had heat down low, heat in the middle, heat up high. And so when those storms start rising, they need a little bit of that cold air up top, and we just haven't had that, and that's because the jet stream has been too far to the north, the ridging has been too strong, and that cold air has not been allowed to come in. But honestly, August and September is the time where the Earth starts to tilt away from the sun. We've made it over the hump, by the way. The proverbial peak of summer.
Mm-hmm.
Today is actually the first day in Denver that the average high temperature is below 90. So it's 89 today, and it's going to go down to 85 by the end of the month.
Down to 44 by mid-December.
Giddy up. So then, and what happens then is that the jet stream starts to sag back to the south, and we may get a little bit of that cold air mixing. So things will get a little bit more interesting for us, I think. Maybe if it's not severe weather, then just colder temperatures would be welcome.
Yeah, I think everybody will take that. After those most recent couple of weeks, we'll certainly take the moisture, which we've discussed in detail, into the mountains and even along the Front Range. We've seen some beneficial moisture lately. Hopefully that Climate Prediction Center outlook for the rest of the month of August pans out. That would be great news and continue putting a dent into our drought. And then as we head into September, October, well, different factors, different seasons. But in the meantime, Cory, thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time and your expertise to give us an idea about what we've seen here in the last couple of weeks and this really hot stretch that we've been talking about here along the Front Range.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I know August looks scary so far. We've had 3 days and 3 90s, and we've got 2 really hot days to come. But hopefully it's not a precursor of what may exist for the whole month.
Oh, I hope not, but again, some good signs this weekend. It will cool back down significantly. It'll stay cool into the early part of next week. Below average temperatures, something that we don't often speak about, or at least we haven't spoken about here in the Denver area. So that's good news. But anyways, Cory, thanks so much for taking a few minutes of your time, and thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Meteorologist Danielle Grant will have updates at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Networks. Again, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus.